The Nexus 6 has a huge screen and reportedly huge performance, a Qualcomm Snapdragon 805 2.7 GHz processor, so let's put that to the test. So the first thing to note is the temperature before I use an application, and it's holding at a very steady 28.2 degrees Celsius. In this particular stress test, I've decided to use Google Earth because everybody has it, and I find that when I use it on most handheld devices, it's quite sloppy and unresponsive. Hopefully the Nexus 6 will be different, and as you can see on my first using of the application, so I cleared the cache, it was very quick to begin with and located my position on the GPS perfectly. This is the second time I've used the Google Earth application on the Nexus 6 because the first time I used it, the application simply froze for about 2 minutes and I had to quit out or do a forced stop. Whether that was because of the hardware, software, or it was trying to download too many maps at the same time, I'm not sure. But I had to clear the cache and start again. And as you can see, so far, scrolling around the maps and even putting it in 3D, which is very intensive usually for handheld devices, especially on Google Earth, it seems to be running quite good. So at this point, everything looks hunky-dory, tickety-boo. I'm just scrolling through downtown Vancouver without any issues. And then all of a sudden, the screen goes black. Has the application turned off? Has the phone locked? No, what's actually happened here is that the Nexus 6 has simply turned itself off for some inexplicable reason. Now, if you've been following other Nexus 6 reports, you will know that there have been some incidences of when the device has simply rebooted. But this is even worse than a reboot, it's a total shutdown. I had to press and hold the power button at this point to turn the Nexus 6 on, and if you see my boot test, you will know that it does take a considerable amount of time to get this device up and running again, which is about 1.5 minutes. After this crash happened, I did have a look on Google to see if there were any reports of the Nexus 6 specifically shutting itself down when using Google Earth, but I didn't find anything of interest. Despite this shutdown, there doesn't seem to be any long-term effects on my Nexus 6. When I used Google Earth for the rest of this test, it didn't cause any problems, and I have had just one random reboot, which was about 2 weeks after this test, so they weren't related, and one reboot is all I've had. So in terms of that particular issue with the Nexus 6, I feel to have been fairly lucky. So back to glorious downtown Vancouver, which as you can see has many detailed 3D buildings, so it is taxing Google Earth. You can also see mountains in the background. So there obviously must be a lot of processing going on behind the topography and all these buildings that are being displayed, and as I zoom in and rotate and zoom out, there doesn't seem to be any drop in frame rate or performance issues. The detail of the buildings isn't that fantastic, but I always label that down to Google Earth, which isn't quite as good as Apple Maps when it comes to detail, but that's my personal opinion. After an aerial tour of downtown Vancouver, I decided to zoom out a little bit and go up to the mountains, where there is a ski resort right near Vancouver, and after that I simply decided to give a bit of a test to the Nexus 6 and just quickly scroll around the map and see if it had any problems. One or two stuttery scrolls there, but that's probably to do with the fact that it's having to load up new maps because none of the data was cached when I started using Google Earth. I also decided to turn on a few extra settings on Google Earth, which included the Wikipedia information search, so that I could click on specific locations and then it would take me to the Wikipedia application to give me more information. Again, there didn't seem to be too many complaints from the Nexus 6, it did everything I wanted to, but it didn't exactly do it at a snappy, rapid pace. And I'm wondering whether that's because Google Earth has never been optimised for handsets, or it's this encryption issue that has been reported on the Nexus 6, which does seem to slow things down by around 1/4 to half a second, and I'm going to look at that in more detail in a future video. The final test I decided to do was a quick snap from one location to another, which I hadn't been to before. So Vancouver straight into the heart of London to see if it could quickly load up all the 3D images and get a good display on screen. And as is normal with Google Earth, what you tend to find is 5 to 10 seconds of a very muddy screen before it catches up and then loads 3D images, again in a slightly dirty way, and eventually things catch up. Sometimes it simply doesn't matter how powerful your device is. If the application isn't optimised, then you're going to experience this, which is waiting 30 seconds for the Houses of Parliament to load up on Google Earth. But anyway, there you have a stress test of Google Earth on a Nexus 6. In summary, it seems to run okay, but it does potentially cause a complete shutdown of the device. This is of course a real world test as opposed to the benchmark test that I did previously, which showed the Nexus 6 to be an absolute beast. The last thing we need to do with this stress test is to check the temperature of the Nexus 6, and it has risen about 11 degrees, and the handset does get warm to the touch when you put it through taxing applications. But just to remind you, because of the shutdown, this isn't an entirely accurate reflection of what the Nexus 6 should be in terms of temperature. It will get even hotter than that, and it does even more so when you actually plug it into charge. That little test also created 300 meg of application data. I'd love to hear your opinions on this real world stress test, and if you want me to try anything else on a Nexus 6, then leave a comment below. As for this test, mixed results. Thank you for watching this Video Gadgets Journal video today. My name is Rob, and each of my videos is designed to inform, intrigue and entertain, to connect you with your technology. Today I've been connecting you with the Nexus 6. If you want to follow more of my journal on a device, then click over here. If you want some useful hints and tips on the Nexus 6, click over here. And if you want more information about the channel in general, then click on me. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again soon.